1963, and there was a lot of big folk events happening that year. Programs got recognised in Edinburgh. And in fact, after a late night fringe show at the Royal Aberdeen, I was invited to a party by a lot of very distinguished people, including at the party was a member of the royal family called Princess Margaret, who must remain nameless. And in the course of the party, Bob Davenport sang that song. He sang 6 nights, and then he stopped and said, I won't sing the last verse. And there was a well-known photographer there. And he was a little bit the worse for wear. He was over at the corner, pissed out of his brains, actually. He said, no, let's have the last verse! So Bob says, oh, go on then. And he sang the last verse, and it was about he comes home and finds his wife with a rolling pin in her hand. No, with a thing in her hand, you see, and he says, what's that in your hand? And she says, it's a rolling pin your mother sent to me, and he says, many's the mile I travel, etc. But balls upon a rolling pin I never saw before. The mighty silence fell on me. For about 5 seconds there was this riveting silence, and then a genteel voice went, and that's what happened. As soon as that genteel little tinkly laugh, the whole thing went, But I often wonder, what would have happened if we hadn't had that little genteel laugh? Well, there you are. You know...
Here, of course, I couldn't have done. I will lay you down, love, I'll treat you decent. I will lay you down, love, I will fill your can. I will lay you down, and I'll treat you decent. I shall. It's as I walked out on a summer's evening down by the water and the bonny glen. It's as I was walking, I could hear them talking, saying surely he's an honest man, and I'll lay you, love, I'll treat you down. I will lay you, love, I will fill your can. I will lay you, and I'll treat you down.
dark. Telling the story of Alec. You no doubt mourn with us the loss of a good friend and a great folk personality, Alex Campbell. What I want to tell you with Alex is that many years ago, in the area of the Jug Punch in Birmingham, Alex was the guest. Before he did his stint, actually, the procedure at the Jug was Ian and his group did the first half. Then, at the beginning of the second half, Betty and I got in and did about 20 minutes. And in that 20 minutes I sang a song which attracted Alec. And when the club was over, he was coming home to sleep in our house. He came home and, as was his usual, he fetched home a bottle of whiskey with him, which he and I proceeded to he said after a couple of drams, he said, "That's a grand song you sung tonight. I never heard that one before." "Oh," I said, "I'll teach you that song, Alec. No bother at all." So in the process of getting the whiskey down, I did teach Alec this song. 2 or 3 months later he did his annual LP, did one every year. And he included this song in the songs he'd sung on that LP. Well, strangely enough, 3 or 4 months later, I got a cheque of royalties for this song. On the sleeve of the song, Alec had given me credit for being the person who had taught him the song. And in some strange way, the people who attend to these things, dishing out royalties, had assumed that I'd written the song. Now I got this cheque. Very distressing it was. Yeah, I discussed it with Ian, and I said, "Look, nobody has a right, these songs are common property. Nobody has a right to claim royalties for writing these songs. I'm going to write to somebody and stop it." Well, 2 or 3 months later, I got another cheque, and it was bigger this time. I did hear that 2 singers in the north of England had also recorded the song, and I was getting royalties for their songs as well. Well, I said that something had to be done about this. I never really got around to it. But as happens, people stopped buying the records and it all stopped. Much to my satisfaction. Anyway, this is the song. It's called Kissing in the Dark. It's from Aberdeen, I couldn't kiss them. From Aberdeen. Oh, for lang I courted Jenny and rode from Main to get a buckle siller and a pig in old main. Elke night again to see her, get later be it mark, and when she comes to meet me, I would kiss her in the dark. The dark, the dark, the dark, the dark, the dark. When she comes to meet me, I would kiss her in the dark. In next I get to see her, thinking she would be at home. I crept up to the window and I rattled on the pane. But out come Jeannie's mother, and in fact it being dark, I took her in the arms and I kissed her in the dark. The dark, the dark, the dark, the dark, the dark. I took her in the arms and I kissed her in the dark. Well, she rugged and she dug it. She tried to get away, but I held her rather tighter and I get her in the twa. Saying out she burst a laugh and said, "That is off a walk to Toozle and Albany, I and kiss her in the dark." The dark, the dark, the dark, the dark, the dark. To Toozle and Albany, I and kiss her in the dark. Well, sign I made for running, but she held me sure and fast. You need be a neighbour, you lad, your secret's out at last. Oh, Jeannie's doing it aunties, and she'll get it off a start. When I tell her how you toozled me and kissed me in the dark. The dark, the dark, the dark, the dark, the dark. When I tell her how you toozled me Jeannie, she come home. She tell the rather story for the salt and not a shame. But now I've gotten Jeannie after all the courting work, and there's few that lands the lucky, we that kiss 'em in the dark. The dark, the dark, the dark, the dark, the dark. Aye, there's few that lands the lucky, we that kiss 'em in the dark. Right there. Yeah. This is one that we do very frequently. Hunting dance.
When you gonna watch me far across the seas, laddie? When you got to Germany, what will you bring to me, laddie?
I'll bring you a brand new gun, Jeannie, the prized in the land, laddie, and it will be a silken gown to shine through all the town, Jeannie.
Oh, that's nae gift at all, Jimmy. That's nae gift at all, laddie. There's nae a goon in all the land will suit when you're away, laddie.
And I come back again, Jeannie, fair far across the seas, laddie. I'll bring with me a gallant gay to be your own good man, Jeannie.
My good man yourself, Jimmy. Be my good man yourself, laddie, and take me back to Germany, there to dwell with you, laddie.
I dinna ken who that can be, Jeannie. I dinna ken who that would be, lassie. For I've a wife and bear me three, and I'm not sure you'd agree, Jeannie.
You should have told me that afore, Jimmy. You should have told me that long time, laddie. For had I kenned o' your false heart, you'd never gotten mine, laddie.
Your een were like a spell, Jeannie, more sweet than I can tell, laddie.
Sweet talking bastard.
That elky baby wretched me, say, I couldn't help myself, Jeannie.
Get him to your wife and bairns, Jimmy. Get him to your wife and bairns, laddie. And I will pray they ne'er will know a broken heart like mine, laddie.
Now dry your tearful een, Jeannie. Oh, greet nae more for me, laddie, for I've neither wife nor bairnies three, and I'll wed none but thee, Jeannie.
Think well before you rule, Jimmy. Think well before you rule, laddie. For I had neither gold nor lands to be a match for you, laddie.
Lair an old mine, Jeannie, and fair Duncan is my laddie. St. Johnston's Bower and Hunting Tower are mine and shall be thine, Jeannie. Hunting Tower. Cold winter was howling on moorland and mountain, and wild was the surge o'er the dark rolling sea. When just about daybreak I met a young lassie who asked me the road and the miles to Dundee. Now here's to the lassie,
I ne'er can forget her.
and to elk young laddie that's listening to me. Oh, never be sweet, take convoy a young lassie, though it's only to show her the road to Dundee.
Dave and Betty Campbell, thank you very much. Why did you choose that song?
When I was courting Betty 55 years ago, she knew that I had a reputation for singing Scottish Buffy ballads from Aberdeenshire, and this was a song that she herself had learned in a girls' club that she was a member of, and she suggested that this was a song that we could sing together. So she taught me the song, we sang it together at the next family party we had, and we've been singing it together ever since.
And how did you learn to sing yourself, Betty?
Just by being in company, and you're in a party and everybody took their turn to sing, and that was when I learned from an old lady in Aberdeen, and I sang that one, and that was my party piece, and that was it.
And was he a good singer to sing with? Did you have to work hard on him to teach him?
No, he came from a family of singers. His dad and his uncle and 3 brothers, they all sang. I was the incomer to the Campbell family, because they were all singers, and I always said.
Yeah. Well, I bet there's a few people watching today who know perfectly well that you're only one of the 3 generations of Campbell family singers, and we've got all 3 generations in the studio with us today. Next to Dave and Betty are Lorna and Ian, Mr. and Mrs. Campbell's son and daughter, and you've been singing together how long?
We started actually in the late 50s. In the days of the great skiffle disaster. You may not remember that, but it was a big happening, and we started off singing skiffle, American blues and folk blues and so on, and then went into singing Scottish and Irish and English traditional songs, and when the skiffle movement passed on, we were left sort of washed up on the beach, still being booked by people, because our repertoire had been different.
What's it like being a family of singers? I mean, every family has disagreements. Do you ever fall out?
All the time. and all the time, and very often about music, in fact, because as you go through the generations, the musical tastes change. Mother and father sing totally traditional songs from Scotland. Lorna and I were entertainers, and we took a step towards showbiz, and we sang some American songs and some foreign songs, and I wrote. In fact, we wrote stuff.
Well, yes, contemporary songs.
Yeah. So
we were a working professional group, and these compromises were necessary.
Yes, yeah. And then the next generation came along, and they went, yeah, folk music, ooh, hate it, blah, blah. And we did something
Now,
else.
that's both sets of your children did that, did they?
That's right, yes.
I'm afraid so, yes.
Yes, my sons went into reggae music, and Laura's son Angus went into jazz.
What do you call it? Sort of jazz rock.
Yeah, jazz rock.
Ish.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, in a way, the most celebrated members, the currently most celebrated members of the Campbell family aren't with us today because they're UB40, aren't they?
Yes.
But I mean, we have the great bones of the Campbell family with us. Now, let me come to the youngest generation that we have here. Duncan, you still sing folk music?
I do, yeah, not professionally like the rest of them, but we run a folk club.
At UB's?
At UB's in town, yeah, and I'll get up and, give them a song. But I'm into the reggae as well. I'm the funny one. I like all of it.
What about you, Angus?
Well, I'm not too much of a fan of folk music myself. But,
Angus has got his own band.
Yeah, playing the jazz rock band.
What's it like being in this whole family of singers? I mean, how hard is it to withstand the influences? Christmas, weddings, when they all say, let's all get up and give a song.
It's all right.
They did. They came and performed at our golden wedding. His band did.
And what was it like? What was your opinion?
A bit loud.
Well, there I was, but they're terrific. Oh, it's terrific if they're your own. Whatever it is they're doing.
Now, Ian, can I ask you, is there anything that the music of all 3 generations so far, and no doubt, there'll be a 4th and a 5th generation, is there anything the music has in common, even if the style is not the same?
Absolutely, there is a thread running through all the music of all the generations, which is a reflection of a social consciousness. We all tend to choose songs or write songs and perform songs which have got something to say about contemporary reality. Our songs are designed to help you to cope with life rather than to help you to escape from it, as pop music does.
Can I ask you perhaps a delicate question, Lorna, and that is, what's it like when you have to offer each other quite hard criticism?
It's not difficult at all. The Campbell family, we are not at all backward in coming forward when we have something to say to each other. There is no problem. But then, because we all do it and everybody expects it, nobody gets hurt by it. We all expect each other to say exactly what we feel. That's how we've always lived our lives. It's not a problem.
Dave, what are the pleasures of singing to you?
The pleasures? I just enjoy singing. I always have done. I sing a song now that I learned from my dad when I was just a boy at school. And I learned that song then, and that was probably the first song I ever sang at a family party. But I went on from there to acquire a very considerable repertoire of bothy ballads and ballads from the northeast of Scotland, and I've been singing them all my life, everywhere I had the opportunity. Everywhere where anybody gave me an opportunity, I get up and sing. In fact, there's a family joke in our family, and that is, when is Dad going to say, is it time for me to sing now? I'm saying this all over life.
Well, I think the time has come for you to sing again. If you don't mind me asking you, will you give us another song?
Yes, we're going to do Hostess's Daughter.
That's it.
When first to London town I came, I took my lodgings all at some inn. For full 5 months I did remain, but being a stranger I fell in danger by doing so, by doing so. The landlord had one daughter dear, she was a beauty, I do declare. But above her knee I dare not go, but being a stranger I fell in danger by doing so, by doing so. Her ruby lips, her eyes so blue, they caused me to love her true. I kissed her rosy lips and cheeks, but being a stranger I fell in danger by doing so, by doing so.
The Campbells.
Individually, I mean, how would you describe their characteristics?
Alistair has spent his whole life in training to be a superstar. Next to him comes Duncan, who wanted to be a craftsman. As a child, he wanted to be a thatcher, and in his early teens, he went off and worked in the Hebrides on a croft and so on. Then came back, couldn't be a thatcher, and ended up as a croupier. What could be more ridiculous?
Explain that.
To be a croupier rather than a thatcher. That's what happened to come up. Robin is the conventional one who actually did an apprenticeship, became a toolmaker, and was working, in fact, at Longbridge in the car industry when he decided to scrap the whole thing and go into UB40, which was started by Alistair.
How did UB40 come about? I mean, what made it happen?
It had always been in the cards. Alistair, at the age of 7, decided he was going to do it and started training for it. When he left school, he didn't go to work like all the others did. He just went on the dole and started practicing and training. He had an accident, and in fact he suffered a criminal injury in a pub, and on his 17th birthday, and he used the criminal injury compensation money to buy the instruments to launch UB40, and that's how it started. And they were all mates from school. They were all kids that had grown up together, black and white and mixed, and Alistair gathered them around him and launched UB40, and shortly afterwards pulled in Robin, his older brother, who jacked in his job in toolmaking. And in fact, if Duncan had been around, he'd have been in it as well, but in fact he was in Barbados. Was it Barbados at the time?
No, I was around, but In Bournemouth.
No, I was around. I was with Robin. Me and Robin were working together at the time.
Oh, that's right, you were doing cars, weren't you?
And
Yes.
we both decided not to do it originally.
And Robin chickened out.
That's right, yeah. We both said no, first of all, because Ali's main love had been for some time dub reggae.
Yeah.
Which me
Which
and
you weren't
Rob
into.
thought very strange, dub reggae. We were into sweet sounds, and we both said, no, if it's going to be dub reggae, we're not interested. And I didn't see Rob for a couple of weeks, and the next time I saw him, he says,
I've joined
UB40. And he says, they'll do sweeter stuff soon, don't worry about it.
Yes, right,
Yeah, that's what happened, yeah, fair enough.
That's right, yeah.
Take that separately and direct a question at you, Duncan. I mean, why aren't you in UB40?
Well, as I say, I chose not to be in UB40 originally. Obviously, I make no bones about it. I'm not slightly embarrassed about the fact that I'm jealous, certainly. I would love to be in UB40 now because they make lots of money and it's a nice way to live. But at the time, they were a local band performing dub reggae. That was what they wanted to perform, dub reggae, which has never held any attraction for me at all. And at the time, neither did it for Robin. But if you compare it with working at Leyland, I should think even dub reggae's...
Robin sold out.
Well, at the time, I thought he did, at the time. Certainly, I thought it was a bit naughty, really, for Rob to join UB40 at that time. With the sole intention of changing their direction. I thought that was wrong. I mean, Ali had got a band together with friends. They all come from my school, our school. Me and Ali were in two classes. We're only 10 months apart. So Ali was in the class below me, I was in the class above. And all the band, except for a few, pretty well come out of those two classes. Jimmy the drummer was in my class, and etc. Ali and Earl and Brian were all in the same class. And they were all very much into the same thing and wanted to produce dub reggae, which was never, as I say, I'm not vaguely interested in it. So, of course, as a backstreet thing, and they were practicing in the attic and playing in local pubs and stuff, the idea of playing dub reggae wasn't at all attractive. And it wasn't to Robin either. But as I say, if you compare it with Leyland, fair enough, I mean, I make a living doing very little, so what I was comparing it with wasn't quite the same as Rob,
Is there no way you could join UB40 now?
Ask him. Yes, fine. Yeah. Of course not. No, I mean UB40 are an 8-man band, and although you're interviewing the Campbells here and all the.
Good evening. Tonight we've got two films, each about a family, both of which in their different ways are very out of the ordinary. Our first film takes us into the private world of a public family that's famous, among other things, for its connection, and here's a clue, with the initials U and B and the number 40. And if you don't know what I'm on about, Many Rivers to Cross explains the link, and more important, why the Campbells are a family well worth meeting.
For the Campbell family of Birmingham, the revolution has been a long time coming. Behind these three generations of singers and songwriters has always been the beat of a different drum. Because for the Campbells, from the Hungry 30s to the hit parade, close behind the sound of music has always come the sound of protest. In 1984, Britain's miners marched to a call that's echoed through Labour history. But the miners were divided, and so was the country. Day after day, throughout a long summer, two nations met head-on. the country, events were held to raise money for the striking miners and their families. Here, in a hall in Leicester, the pop group UB40 rehearsed a benefit concert, their contribution to the miners' cause. Amongst them, Robin and Ali, the youngest generation of the Campbell family. The song is from the top 20, but the road that brought Ali Campbell and his brother to this concert in the middle of the miners' strike began with their grandparents, long ago and far away.
This just looks like the sort of farm that I've worked in. The hardest work I ever did in my life. Hard manual work.
It is nearly 60 years since David Campbell used to leave his wife Betty at home and go tramping for work at harvest time.
Come in here and see this. This is the stairs to the loft, which was always known as the bothy.
It was in bothies like this that David Campbell, the young casual labourer from Aberdeen, discovered a world that has now completely disappeared.
Oh, I can remember being in a bothy at this size. You've got to get the picture, see. Look, there'd be room here for at least 9 beds. And you'd have 9 horsemen, 9 farm workers, farm servants they called them in those days, you know. And they lived and had their life here, and their work was with the horses underneath, down below. These bothies weren't only the source of social life's entertainment for the men that lived in the bothy, but they would invite their friends.
Women?
Invariably.
I hear tales.
That was as natural then as it is this day. But in the main, it was the singing that was a big thing. That's where it was all carried on, from the corn chest in the corner, which is why these songs ultimately became known as corn kisters. They were bothy ballads. In fact, I still remember the first one that...
The old man taught you.
Aye, yes. When I was only 12 years old, I left the village school. My father fed me to the mains to choice milk and meal. First I got on the narrow breeds to hide my spinel trams, then I wrap it round my nappet knees, a pair of nicky tams. I'm courting Bonnie Annie, no jock dancing sketchy dame, for she is 45 and I am 17. She clorts a muckle piece to me with different kinds of jam. Aye, and elky neck she tells me she admires me nicky tams. I've often thought I'd like to be a bobby on the force, or maybe I'll get on the trams to drive a pair of horse. Whatever it's my luck to be, the bobbies or the trams, I'll never forget the happy days I wore my nicky tams. Nicky tams.
With the harvest over, Dave Campbell took the songs back home with him to the granite streets of Aberdeen.
That was the entrance to the close. And there's our two windows there. They've been built up. This was the tenement house that we lived in. This one here. And those were the two windows.
It's my kitchen window. The next was the bedroom window. Funny to think to that an area right from here to the edge of there.
Yeah.
That was our entire flat.
Total house room.
And we had 3 kids there.
Yeah. You and I and 3 kids had our life there. And that was the total house. Amazing to think, isn't it? Huh? How tiny it is. Those were times when I was very active in the unemployed movement, hunger marching, blistering the government. If we couldn't get jobs, we had to get bearable conditions, bearable living conditions, bearable eating standards, everything to be made comfortable and bearable. It never was during the hungry 30s. That was the urgent message of the day that we were putting out to the
It wasn't my urgent message. It was rearing 3 kids in a small flat like this.
I know. Mind you, they weren't the old bad times. I used to love a party here, you know. When the eating and most of the drinking was over, we would start the singing.
The women didn't drink, they had a cup of tea.
That's right. Which is as things ought to be in those days. Women drank tea and men drank beer. Still, I have happy memories of the singing. The roads and the miles. Remember when we used to sing? We did it regular.
This ring and this purse take to prove that I'm grateful, and some simple token I trust you'll give me, and in days to come I'll gladly remember that showed me so far on the road to Dundee.
I took the goat pin from the scarf at my bosom and said, "Taculus in remembrance of me." Then bravely I kissed the sweet lips of that lassie. Ere I parted we her on the road to Dundee.
Now here's to the lassie, I ne'er can forget her, and to our young laddie that listened to me. Oh, never the sweet to convoy a young lassie, though it's only to show her the road to Dundee. One of the sources of morale building on the march was the singing we all did. I've been trying to remember. But here, did you think that the morale of the marchers was in the conviction that the marchers had within themselves? Everybody knew what they were marching for, why they were marching, and it didn't matter what kind of conditions. I mean, they grumbled and they grumbled sometimes, but the point is that was overcome because of the conviction that they were on. We were on a mission. It had to be a lighter. We did have a song. They must have been like the explorers in the old days that went to go to the North Pole. They had a gold. Remember that when Mary had a little lamb? I just remember. On the battle word freedom. Hurrah for Mary, hurrah for the lamb, hurrah for the Bolshevik boys that don't give a damn. Everywhere but Mary went, the lamb would shoot to go, singing out the battle cry of freedom. That's it. We were living, weren't we? We were alive.
policeman, please heed the call. Don't stand in the doorway, don't block off the hall, for he who gets...
The times have changed. It's the 60s. On the road to London, a new generation of protesters and a song from a new generation of Campbells.
It'll soon shake your windows and rattle your walls, for the time they are
There it is. They don't make folk song clubs like this anymore, I tell you.
Ian Campbell and his sister Lorna, here in Birmingham, they ran Britain's biggest folk club.
How did we ever manage to fill this?
Easy in those days.
Yeah, different world, doesn't it?
During the 60s and 70s, their music was at the heart of the folk revival.
I think coming from a family of singers was of enormous help when we started singing to the public. We had a certain amount of self-confidence and just that background of knowing that everybody can sing if they really want to. And that helped, I think, as professional performers.
We were trying to bring about this grassroots revolution back to folk music. Of course, we didn't know at that time that folk music had never been the possession of the working people. It was always a minority interest. But it seemed like a good idea at the time. In fact, Arnold Westcott said to us, it's all right for you singing in folk song clubs. He said, you're preaching to the converted. You've got to get out into the pubs. And with the Centre 42 festivals, we went into the pubs and we found out that the people didn't want us.
No.
They wanted to play darts and dominoes.
Completely demoralising.
Yes. So we were standing in a pub there, you know, as I command me Phoenix said, and there's some guy standing there playing darts going. So the people didn't really want folk music, but we thought that they ought to want it. I mean, pop songs seem to be so vacuous and ephemeral and so on. Baby, baby, what am I going to do now that you've left me? Is the message of the pop song, or it seemed to be at the time. And apart from that, earlier on, there was how much is that doggy in the window? And it seemed to be so trivial. And it was the introduction to American folk blues, where they were singing about things like venereal disease and drug addiction and getting beaten up by your husband and, I mean, you know, those domestic things, which attracted me. So we looked for folk songs that said something about real life. And then when there were issues that came up that couldn't possibly have been covered by folk songs, the only way to sing about those issues, things like the atom bomb, I mean, there's no tradition of songs about atom bombs, but the only way to find songs like that was to write them.
The sun is burning in the sky. Strands of cloud are slowly drifting by. In the park, the dreamy bees are droning in the flowers among the trees. And the sun burns in the sky. Now the sun is sinking low. Children playing know it's time to go. High above a spot appears. A little blossom blooms and then draws near. And the sun is sinking low. Now the sun has come to earth, shrouded in a mushroom cloud of death. Death comes in a blinding flash of hellish heat and leaves a smear of ash. And the sun has come to earth.
Support the People's March, Liverpool to London! People's March, Liverpool to London!
The 1980s, 3 million out of work. Once again, the unemployed march on London. But in Birmingham, the youngest generation of Campbells returned to the place where they found their own solution to the dole queue.
Right
Grandad every time they stuck up?
Yes, what a good little chap.
Oh, yes. Hasn't changed a lot.
Except that it nearly got burnt down.
There's none of our posters.
There is, there's a few still.
Yeah, Boston, isn't it?
Our first ever logo.
Our first logo.
Whose design?
Whose design was it, Brian's?
Brian's, yes.
Brilliant. Good Lord. Boston.
Ah, look, Boston, look. Underneath what you found. I nearly said... look. There you go. Now, this is actually...
An original UB40 poster. Good Lord.
that is the original UB40 poster. That's Brian there.
Brian, look.
Where am I?
You make them all out.
Earl, Norman.
Yeah, mate, look. Yeah, mate.
We were, everybody was on the dole, right? That's why we were called UB40, because we were all unemployed, right? So we were living on, £13.90 a week, that was. I was on that for 3 years, and most of us were. But I also got hit in the face with a pint mug. What happened was, this geezer lamped me round the earhole with a pint mug, and my eye fell out. So I went off to hospital, and got paid a couple of grand a couple of years later. That's what brought the first drum kit, which is down here. Brought a few PA columns, and so we blew all our money, our first bit of money, down there, didn't we?
I would say the majority of the money was actually blown in the pub down the road. Mosley drank most of his compensation. I suppose we could have grown up as folk singers, if we hadn't moved to this area. At the age of, it was about 11 for me, and even younger for him, he was about 8 years old. All of a sudden, we heard this new form of music that we'd never heard before.
7 hours.
He was 7. It just changed our lives.
Changed our lives. I mean, as far as folk music goes, that only applies to us too, because we're the Campbell brothers and our dad, etc. They're all folk singers. But the rest of the band had nothing to do with the folk scene, and didn't want anything to do with the folk scene, just like us. We wanted to play reggae music.
You've got to remember that UB40 is now a band. We're only 2 members of UB40. There's 8 of us, and the 8, collectively, we're all into reggae.
Very nicely.
Shall I move it?
Are you bringing another tea?
It's a lady bed.
Everybody, when you a concert, everybody wants to say free seats and free ticket. There's only 2 of them out to there, and that's, they don't understand.
The other 6 have all got grannies as well.
That's right.
Yeah, of course they are. I'm Grandad.
Playing Grandad's most certainly.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Mind you, I would be quite prepared to confess that none of the rest of them have granddads like you.
Oh, this is true. It obviously had an influence, the fact that you grow up with everybody around you singing and the regular sing-songs that happened and stuff obviously influences you, yeah. I mean, it made it easy to sing.
But the thing is... Your dad was a great musician.
Really?
Your granny and your granddad were never great musicians, but they did a lot of singing in your presence. And you are making the sort of music that you love. No, that's simple.
Yeah. As a family, as far as the family's influence goes on us, we did grow up, I suppose, more politically aware than, a lot of other people our age. Yeah. And we are a politically minded bunch of people, I suppose. So we're... Firstly and foremost, we're making music and we're making it to sell. And then we feel an obligation, because of our roots and our background, to say something relevant or worthwhile.
We all have an affinity with the working class movement.
we are not necessarily on the same standpoint of the working class movement, but we all have an affinity. And we all have the same sympathy with the miners' cause. We all have that. This is something that we all feel. I don't think any of my grandsons, they all may make $1 million, but they will not reject their working class roots. They are working class. They are the sort of working class intelligent people who know that the motor behind the drive for the good life, the motor driving for progress in civilized living, is a working class motor.
Campbell got a family with a tradition. So we are going tonight to add our pennyworth to the support the miners are going to get in this district.
Right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. When we are in a struggle like this is when you really find your friends. I'd like to say thank you to Dave and Betty Campbell, who I know David were a full-time union official, and in 1972 he helped to organise at Saltley Gate his union to come along, and that is when it started the turning point. I'd like you to put your hands together to thank Dave for that wonderful organisation that he did in 72.
Ah, the summertime is coming, and the trees are sweetly blooming, and the wild mountain thyme grows around the blooming heather. Will you go, lassie, go, and we'll all go together in the wild mountain thyme, all around the blooming heather. Will you go, lassie, go?
The Campbells, reminding us perhaps that if you take the long view, the causes for which they've sung for a generation don't go away with this victory or that defeat, but are always with us. In a moment.
woman's song, and you must all join in the chorus. Male and female alike. Can't you make it last a little longer? I'm sure you could if only you would try. Can't you make it last a little longer? And we'll hope for something better by and by. When I was a little girl, I never will forget. We often had to live up or take what we could get. I wore my sister's hand-me-downs, not fit to give away. When they walked past mending, I would hear my mother say, can't you make it last a little longer? I'm sure you could if only you would try. Can't you make it last a little longer? And we'll hope for something better by and by. Courting days were happy, but my father would complain. When I went out with a lad, he liked me home like 10. In the evening, for the call and walk out to them. When I pointed to my